Welcome, friends, to Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life. This is Kiki Rogers, and this is a weekly show that brings you stories of friends who have survived their worst and are now living their best. And my name is Kiki Rogers, your gracious hostess. And I wouldn't be here without my generous sponsors, and we have several of them and a couple new ones this week. We Care Tucson, Sarah Sauter's Luxury Real Estate, Kiki Rogers Country Financial, Crossroads Coaching and Career Counseling, and Phones Down's Just Drive have been our sponsors, but we also are welcoming now Sean Scott, a hypnotherapist here in Tucson, and who's with me today is Cody Peck with Networking Outdoors. Hi, Cody. How are you?
I am doing good. Thank you for having me here, Kiki.
Well, thanks for joining us. We started out the day doing one of my favorite activities today, and that was just fishing this morning.
Oh, that was a great time, a fun time. Getting out there and doing that. I would definitely say you are the bluegill fish whisperer after today.
Minnows, from what I understood, what I heard.
They weren't the largest of fish, but at least I caught something. Did you catch anything throughout the day?
I went home empty-handed this time.
Last month, he actually pulled out a catfish with a mealworm.
Yeah.
Figure that one out.
Yeah, that was a 13-inch little catfish guy. He was actually pretty decent size.
Big fish.
That's pretty good. And that other voice y'all hear, I'm sure you guys recognize from the show before mine. That is the one, the only Wes Source from the Tasty Tucson Show.
The Tucson Tasty Show.
I said it backwards again, didn't I?
It's all good.
The Tucson Tasty Show. But as y'all know,
super excited to be here.
I'm glad you're back with us. Thank you.
Yes.
I've had the pleasure of being on your show. It's coming up almost on a 1-year anniversary this summer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
August. Broadcasting. So we actually started working on the show in March of last year, and really R&Ding, getting into it and figuring out everything. And it was a process. And, I had a mentor that helped out, but, I wish he had helped me out a little bit more, because I'm finding things out now that I should have known then.
Well, it's all it's progress, not
good.
Perfection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I'm not learning, I'm not growing, and
Yeah.
that is one of the most important things. So if I can't make a mistake and learn from it, then I don't need to be here anymore.
Like the song says, we're turning our L's into lessons.
There we go.
Well, I'm loving having you here. This is a special day for me to have you as part of my show. And thank you, Cody, for joining us as well.
Star Wars Day, right?
It is Star Wars Day.
May the
4th.
be with
you.
All three of us jumped in to get that tagline out.
I actually have a really
still have to finish my
cute
Commander
joke.
Cody
sorry.
clone uniform. So maybe I'll have that one of these days for you
Your
guys.
clone? Okay.
I have a really funny joke if you have a second.
Sure.
So, what did Yoda say when he saw himself in high definition for the first time?
What did Yoda say when he saw himself in high definition? I do not know.
For the first time. So he said, HDMI.
HDMI. And
that's how you know he's a dad.
Yes.
yes. And how does Darth Vader like his toast?
On the dark side.
Of course. This is why we're friends.
Yes.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, this is a special weekend for me. As some of you may know, I've had 2 children. My youngest, Adam, I'm proud of. He just bought his first car, and he's graduating high
Congratulations.
school.
Standard.
Yeah.
That's important, because
manual, yeah.
every
Wait,
first
manual?
vehicle should be a manual standard transmission.
I'm giving this kid props.
Mine was, yeah.
Like, I learned manual. I think a lot of people learn it, but 99% of cars on the road built today are not manual.
Right.
It's like an anti-theft device now.
Yes, exactly. Which is probably why we got a really great price on. It's a really awesome car. Our mechanic lined it up with one of her customers of ours, so it's one I trust and love. One I feel safe giving to my youngest kid, because you want to keep your kids safe as much as you can control. And we'll talk about how much we have control over that in a little bit.
Right.
But really proud of him. He's going to be graduating. And then we had another son, Ian, who's 3.5 years older than Adam. But Ian never got to his 18th birthday. He passed away it'll be 5 years in August. And otherwise, tomorrow would have been Ian's birthday, and he would have been 22. And he loves Star Wars and everything geeking out. So Star Wars Day was one of his favorite days. So I'm really glad you're here to be part of the show, because you're going to actually be taking the reins from me and interviewing me more about my story and losing my son Ian.
All right.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
So, take it away, Wes.
So I'm Wesley Source, your guest co-host for Kiki's Keys, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Kiki. Cody, good friend, and happy to be here as well, or that you're here as well. So with your son, that the story is it's heart-wrenching. I mean, it really is. And having 3 kids myself, and one that's about to turn 16 in 10 days, really is, it's something that every parent dreads. And and it was, I think you describe it the best. It's everybody's nightmare.
It is.
So, tell us a little bit about him first.
Well, Ian was such a saving grace for me. When I found out that he was on the way, it was completely by surprise. I was 24 years old, had been dating his dad just for a little while, and we're told that this bundle of joy was joining our family that was just becoming a family very quickly. And I couldn't have asked for a better father to be a partner with during that time. And we started raising Ian, and knew right away he was just a special kid. He had a sense of humor. He loved the dad jokes, loved puns, loved knock jokes, and he could read very young. He started reading between 3 and 4. He was reading easy chapter books by the time he was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And so for his 5th, when he was 5 years old for Christmas, he had 2 different sets of family members give him 1,001 knock joke books that were identical to each other, because his material was so bad. Everyone was hoping he'd learn something new.
Aren't you glad I didn't say banana?
Yeah. Or from being a
Everybody
4 or
knows that
5-year-old, it would be like, knock,
Who's there?
banana.
Banana who?
And then you slipped and fell. And you'd be like, huh? Because he's just making them up.
That's adorable.
It
I
was,
love it.
But he loved making jokes. He loved laughing, loved fishing and being with his friends, and was just a very loyal spirit.
So where did he grow up?
Minnesota. That's where I grew up. That's where I'm originally from. And so we moved to Monticello, Minnesota in 2008.
So a lot of outdoor activities and cold winters and
Exactly. Yep.
And you, so as he grew up and became a young man, if you will, that usually happens between 9 and 11, actually, for everybody out there in the world, but where that change starts to happen. But as he started to develop into a young man, how did his interest change?
I think the thing that was really special about Ian is how he connected with other people, and his friendships continued to just deepen. His best friend Joe and Alex, they lived on the same block. His whole life was built around those friendships.
Right.
And as he went into middle school, then it just continued to cement, and he just made some incredible connections. And he was very gifted at meeting people where they were at and empathizing with them and not bringing judgment into it. And he just wanted to bring joy to everyone's life.
That's very special. Yeah. What was there? When did he discover Star Wars?
Oh, Star Wars. Yeah, that's probably right about that age too. Yeah, Star Wars, all things video games, comic books, your typical boy and nerd stuff.
Fair enough. So good student.
Yes and no. He struggled. He was a lot like his mom. He had ADHD. He struggled with kind of figuring out how he was very intelligent, but he was very passion based. And so whatever his mood was bringing him. So if he wasn't in the mood to do a class, he did not care.
Right.
So,
oh, that's fair.
we had our ups and downs. I mean, he was very stubborn as well, and always wanted to learn things the hard way. So it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna continue learning a little bit more about him and how he started driving and everything. And when we come back from the break, and I'm Wesley Source, your guest host, I guess. And thank you, Cody, for being here. Thank you, Kiki, for allowing me to do this for you. And
we're going to go into break, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more.
Thank you to our amazing sponsors, We Care Tucson, Sarah Saunders, Luxury Rental Real Estate, Kiki Rogers Country Financial, Crossroad Coaching and Career Counseling, Phones Down, Just Drive, Sean Scott.
Yes. And now Network Outdoors.
We'll
be back after this.
Welcome back to Kiki's Keys. I'm your guest host, Wesley Source, and we're here with Kiki of Kiki's Keys and Cody Peck. And thank you for being here and allowing me to do this with you, because it's a very special, very important, very intimate thing that you're sharing with us. So, I really appreciate your story.
Thank you. Well, I think it's important because the reason why I wanted to do this is because after losing Ian, I really felt I was at my worst place in my life. And it was so hard to see that things could get better.
Right.
And I lost all that hope. So if we can give hope to others, that's the whole reason why I want to do this show.
Yes. Thank you for having me here to experience this with you. I know you told me and talked to me about it offline. I guess I don't know if that's the correct term, but
that'd be offline. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to have you. Thank you. We were just talking about how networking and being outdoors, you really do find your best in that environment.
It is peaceful, and a lot of people look at it and they don't like going outside. And once they do finally get out there and see the peacefulness and enjoy the beauty of the great outdoors, science has shown that it definitely makes you mentally healthier.
Yeah, connecting to nature and being outdoors is one of the things that it recenters. And when you're just out there and you're just experiencing that, and for me, listening to the hum because of my ear problems from the Air Force, but it's a surreal experience. So if you are at home listening to this and you're struggling with your day and everything else, go take a hike. Take lots of water with you, but go for a hike and plan it out.
And let someone know where you're going.
And let somebody know where you're going. I was just going to go there. Thank you for reading my mind. Or take somebody with you, because hiking in silence, just going out and there's a couple of people out there and just going down the trail sometimes is more bonding than anything else. So.
And we were talking about my son, Ian, and that's what he was doing the last day he was alive, is he loved riding his bike, and he would meet up with his friends down at the park, but he would just hang up a hammock. We always had the nylon hammocks.
Oh, really?
And so that's what he was doing prior to his accident, is he was hanging out at the park until dusk in his hammock, reading a book. That's what he loved to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so peaceful. Awesome.
I love hammocks. I can't find one that holds me, but
you can get a 2-person hammock.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I know of a brand that can hold you.
Yeah.
Fair. We'll talk about it later.
So
he would go down to the park. He would read books. What books was he reading at that point?
His favorite book at that point was something about Under the Stars. They made it into a movie. It's about 2 young teenagers, and one of the characters has terminal cancer.
Oh.
And do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Yes, it's a Nicholas Sparks book, I believe.
Is it? Okay. It's something Under the Stars, I think. But he had actually just come home the day before from
Reaching Your Stars? No,
you're thinking of Reach for the Stars, a nonprofit organization.
I'm not gonna look it up,
but it doesn't matter.
I don't have producer Gene in here to
he was spending some time up at Star Lake Wilderness Camp, which is a camp in Minnesota we'd been a part of for over 3 generations in our family, and he had just returned home from there, and he had gifted that book to the library there. a couple days before we lost him because he said it was his favorite book and he had read it so much he wanted to leave it for someone else to read. So, forgive me for not remembering the exact book, but I remember him telling me about it. And then I had...
You'll post it on the Facebook page afterwards.
I will. That's a good idea. I had posted, actually, after his death, a quote from that book. And that's when one of the counselors reached out to me and said, that's the book he just left for us. How amazing. So there was that connection there, too.
So this is where, the conversation gets a little bit difficult. But what was, so he was coming home, he was riding his bicycle home, and something happened.
Yeah, it was 9:48-ish. His curfew was 10 p.m. He was literally on it's a 4-way stoplight highway next to our neighborhood. And there was a U-turn kind of in the middle because there was a median and no way for the bicyclist to get from one side to the other without going over that median. So we think he was just approaching the U-turn to cross over. So he was on the wrong side of the street. And a lady went to pass another vehicle, didn't see him between the darkness of the street and him not being where he should have been and not having enough reflectors, lights on his bike. It was just a bicycle he got for himself from like a garage sale or Facebook marketplace. So it wasn't, brand new standards and didn't have enough reflectors. So she didn't see him and he wasn't wearing his helmet. And so when she hit him, he died instantly. And we were informed at about an hour later from a knock on the door from 4 sheriffs. And they came in with their hats to their chest and informed us that our son was involved in an accident. And then they said, and he didn't make it. And I'm like, no, that's not how this works. No, you're going to tell us he's at the hospital. We're going to go. We're going to see him. It's going to get better.
Right.
Everything else that's gone wrong in my life got better. This is going to get, and it didn't. He was gone. And the next time I saw my son was at the morgue or at the, visitation place.
Funeral home.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, life-changing, and it's experiencing a period. I mean, it dreads.
You dread it, and then when it happens, the guilt that sets in. I mean, you're not only losing your child and grieving, but you feel responsible because you had one job as a parent. And he was 17, and I didn't get him to 18 safely. We didn't buy him his first car. He didn't get his license, all of those things. And so that guilt on top of the grief and the loss, and it just...
Unmanageable. It's unmanageable. I can't even imagine.
It left me completely bankrupt emotionally, spiritually. I wasn't able to go back to my business. I was nothing for about 2 years there.
Understandably. And so you moved out of Minnesota.
We did. So after 2 years, our youngest, Adam, at that time he was 13 when he lost his brothers. So fast forward 2 years, he's going on to 15.
Right.
And we realized we were stuck. We were stuck in our grief. We were stuck in our sadness. Every day, my husband's routine would be to leave to go to work. He'd have to take that U-turn and look at the spot where our son passed away. And then he'd have to pull over, cry, compose himself, and then finish the trip 5 miles to his work. And then go about the day. I couldn't even do that. I couldn't leave the house. And then Adam, being COVID had picked up, this lost him August of 2019. COVID started. He lost not only his brother, but the ability to visit his friends at school and his support system. And so he got very behind in school during that as well. So we moved as kind of like it was either we were never going to survive it or we needed to do something different.
And that brought you to Bullhead City, Arizona.
Initially, yep. Enough time to kind of shop around and realize we did not want to stay in Bullhead City, but gave us the opportunity to come visit Tucson.
Yeah.
Which we loved.
Yep. And so what was the turning point? What was the moment that you realized, okay, so my world ended?
Okay, yeah. When do you say I can move on from this or
Mhm.
move forward? Not move on. You don't move on without him.
Right.
But you
Mhm.
at some point have to decide you move forward. There were 2 points. For me, one was on the first anniversary of his death because that was the first time I stopped going through the motions and I just went out and I screamed at God. Why? And I screamed profanities at him. Why? And I felt like I surrendered my pain over to God, and then I was able to start healing from there because I stopped hanging on to that pain. And then from there to the move, it was, we couldn't see any hope where we were at, and we
Mhm.
knew we needed new walls, new scenery. And that
Right.
was pivotal in our growth because we were scared. We were moving on without him. We were leaving state. We're leaving where he's buried. We're leaving all of our family and our support system that were there for us.
Right.
But we knew we couldn't stay there, and we were going to just completely fall apart if we didn't make a change.
And that's a big part of the grieving process, and
Yeah.
and that's an important part because being able to, again, it's not moving on; it's just moving past that moment and not being stuck in it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I know we're out of time now. If I have any takeaway to share, and thank you so much for being here and facilitating this so I could share my story. My biggest takeaway for everyone out there is no matter what you're going through, no matter how terrible it feels at the moment, don't give up on yourself because you will get stronger through it
Mm.
and there will be better days.
Mhm.
And if we can just continue to remind people that so that way they can take a pause if they need to and feel the feelings that they're feeling. But please don't quit on yourself. Don't quit on your future because someone else's future ended. There is still more promise to each of us.
Amen.
Amen on that.
Thank you. Any wise words you want to share or takeaways you want to share for our audience before we sign out?
Stay tasty, Tucson.
Stay tasty, Tucson. Yeah. Cody?
It's
I would say, going through stuff, maybe I'll bring it up. I had some other stuff in my past, but getting outside, getting with people, being able to build that support network around you, and knowing where you have to go, who you need to talk to.
which can be
And
the
if
hardest thing you do.
It is. Sometimes
It-
you have to do what you don't want to do to just move forward.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for being here and being a part of that and letting me have the vehicle to share my story. Tomorrow would be Ian's birthday, guys. Cinco de Mayo. Enjoy it. Otherwise, thank you to our sponsors, We Care Tucson, Sarah Sodders, Kiki Rogers, Country Financial, Crossroads Coaching, Career Counseling, Phones Down, Just Drive, Sean, Scott, and Network Outdoors. Be the best you can be. Nobody else can do it better.